Welcome to the Fallon Forum today. Maddie here. Real quick, we'd like to thank our organizational sponsors, the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club, Iowa Physicians for Social Responsibility, and the Great March for Climate Action for helping to make this program possible. We'd also like to thank the Fallon Forum business partners and encourage you to patronize them. Thanks to Gateway Market and Cafe, located at 20th and Woodland on the edge of downtown in the Sherman Hill neighborhood. Gateway's grocery section showcases many products from local farms and producers. Gateway is also a great place for breakfast, lunch, and supper, and offers a fantastic catering service as well. Thanks also to Hawk Restaurant at East 5th and Walnut in Des Moines East Village. At Hawk, 95% of the food served comes from Iowa farms and Iowa producers. Thanks also to Ritual Cafe at 13th and Locust in downtown Des Moines. Ritual is a great place for coffee, tea, smoothies, a full vegetarian menu, and music on the weekends. And finally, thanks to Diana's Wedding Cakes in Newton, serving the greater Des Moines Metro with customized cakes, cupcakes, cookies, and more. Ed, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing okay, but the corn and soybeans around Gibbon, Nebraska, you might as well have just taken a mower to the crops and leveled them to the ground. I have never seen anything like the hail damage that extends across an 8-mile swath that I'm told is 100 miles long. This hail came on Wednesday, and again, it's like nothing I've ever seen. And I've been inquiring with people here in central Nebraska, have you ever seen anything quite like this? And some are saying, oh, yeah, we get this once in a while. And others are saying, no. The editor for the newspaper said, never seen anything like it before. And again, it was remarkable. I was taking a lovely little break. I knocked on the door of a farm family and said, hey, can I just sit in your backyard and have my lunch in the shade? And they said, sure. They're so laid back. It's wonderful. So I went and I sat on a stump and I had my lunch next to a cornfield that was lush and tall and everything you could possibly want from a GMO seed. And all right, that was a mixed editorial comment. But I got up, finished my lunch, get ready to walk, and I'm heading down the road, and I see that the corn is like all of a sudden starting to struggle a bit, and I wonder what's going on here. It just doesn't look as healthy. And within no time at all, it is down to nothing, a stalk, a bare stalk. And as you go on even deeper into the hail zone, there's nothing left. The corn has been leveled. The soybeans even more so. There is nothing left. And this is, again, if it's true that it's 8 miles, and I could verify that it's 8 miles wide. That's what I walked. If it's truly 100 miles long, that's 800 miles of crop destruction. It did not stop at the crops, though. We stayed at a park last night in Gibbon, and the carnage around the park from branches that fell down, and from, I mean, this is a park that normally would have a nice shade cover. It had about the shade cover you'd get in October, when you don't really need shade. You know, with a minimal amount of leaves still left hanging, but especially on the north side of the trees from where the storm came from the north. So the south side was a little more protected. But I mean, the trees, and again, not just in this park, but everywhere you look, it was like walking through. It was walking through a disaster zone. I've never seen anything. I've seen hail damage, but this was beyond anything I have ever comprehended. And then when you start looking at the structures, buildings, metal buildings with huge dents in them, all up and down the side, housing with the siding just torn off it. Paint just flaked off. I do not know the full damage of this storm, and I do not know how much of the crop damage will be covered by the crop insurance program. I inquired with farmers about that, and again, get mixed reports on that. So I don't know, but I can tell you, I've seen lots of dramatic weather during this trip across the U.S., and a lot of it relevant to a lot of it really consistent with the predictions that climate scientists are making in the models they present. But this one was probably the most horrific. We're back, though, now in country where the crops and the homes and the trees have been spared the wrath of nature, and everything looks just fine and so much like Iowa that I almost feel like I'm there. And I'm getting darn close. Anyway, I'm going to try to continue to track the story here in central Nebraska because I am fascinated by it. All right, there's a lot of things that fascinate me today, including the Iowa pipeline. I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about Lance Armstrong and him coming back to Ragbray and also coming back to cancer research. And if you want to weigh in on any of these topics, and if you do, you might be lucky in terms of winning something wonderful. Not that it isn't wonderful just to be able to have a conversation with me on the air. All right, I'm kidding. I'm exaggerating the wonder of that. But give us a shout at 515-244-0077, 244-0077. All right, so before we talk Keystone or Iowa Pipeline and Lance Armstrong, let me take a look at Ankeny. I mean, I've been looking at Ankeny for years because I remember not well. I mean, I didn't spend a lot of time in Ankeny back in the early mid-'80s when I was here. But back then, and certainly in the '70s, Ankeny had a downtown. It had a place that reminded you of rural Iowa. And you certainly don't get that anymore with Ankeny. Ankeny has become I think they've beat West Des Moines for the sprawl capital of Iowa. And so I guess I should not be surprised that the Des Moines Register publishes a story. Again, Todd Rosen, love your reporting. You're a great guy. But I warned you, I'm going to skewer this piece. I'm not happy with it. It's all glowing. It's 50,000 people and growing. That's the headline. City passes population milestone. Appears on track to see its best growth year ever. I mean, the whole thing is just laced with innuendo. Passes milestone. On track for best growth ever. And then the first sentence, Todd, come on. Congratulations to Ankeny on officially hitting the 50,000 population mark. But there's little time to party. Of course, I mean, for me, if I was someone who valued the old-time flavor of Ankeny, if I was someone who was trying to farm near Ankeny, I don't know if I would think this would be the time to throw out the blanket on the lawn and have a party. It's very much a matter of perspective. Certainly, if you're a developer who's gotten rich, if you're somebody whose first name starts with Denny and there's a couple options, then you're probably loving this and making a lot. And again, if you're in charge of economic development, because most city economic development types just can't, they just drool when they start looking at this kind of growth. But I'm all for balanced, responsible, and manageable growth. But come on. When you've gotten so big, so fast, you can't even find your downtown with both hands in the dark. Okay, I know that's a metaphor. That something's wrong. Something's missing. There are people in Ankeny I've met who do not know about downtown Ankeny. That's because it has now become the home of the farmers market, one restaurant, and that's about it. So the article goes on to say that it's just the latest benchmark for a city that continues to sprint into the future. I love that, sprint into the future. Okay, I remember another running metaphor to the slow and steady go the race, something to that effect. If the future is Ankeny, we're all in big trouble. I mean, this is not sustainable, folks. The experiment of the 1970s, 80s, 90s, 2000, and now the first decade and a half of this century, the experiment called urban sprawl, if it's not on its last legs, it will soon be. It is not sustainable. Sure, people come to it at first because, I mean, face it, there's a lot of subsidies involved. The developers and the homeowners don't pay the full price of those roads. They don't pay the full price of the schools even. They don't. There's a state formula that helps that out. They don't pay the full price of the sewer lines, the water lines. There's all sorts of public subsidies from state, local, county, federal, that help make sprawl possible. Sprawl is not sustainable. It's not good development. And I know the appeal. The appeal is I feel safe here. I'm here in this home with this big front garage. I could bring my car right in there. I go out back. I've got a privacy fence. I don't really have to get to know my neighbors. I feel safe here. There are no people who don't look like me running around. It's home. And I know people are, I'm not sure people are rightfully scared. I think people are scared largely because of, I think, a lot of the stories that are on the news. And again, I love the newspaper. Yep, Todd, I love the newspaper. when I compare it to what's on TV in terms of trying to instill fear in people. In the area of the story is about some kind of crime activity, and so people get scared and they flee to the nice, safe, secure, castle in the suburbs. And so I understand why Ankeny is appealing for that reason, but at what price? Again, a price is not sustainable. Some of the there was a story about this a few years ago too. Some of the materials being used in building these homes is horribly inadequate. In fact, I got involved with one homeowner who ended up filing a lawsuit because and this is in Ankeny, because her home was so substandard that it was not going to last. She was already seeing tremendous problems in the structure. And so, I'm not saying all homes in Ankeny are built that badly, but there are many that have been. This is documented. And again, when the modus operandi is to get as rich as quickly as possible to sprint into the future, then you're going to lose sight of quality. You're going to lose sight of community. You're there to make money if you're the developer. You're there to feel safe and secure if you're the homeowner. And then again, I know that right now this is still working, but I would bet lots of money that the prediction that this article makes of an Ankeny eventually of 90,000 people is right now to me laughable, but at some point will actually be a huge burden. You cannot accommodate 90,000 people with this pattern of development. Again, it also assumes again, look at it. Urban sprawl is not built around people. It's built around cars. It's built for the convenience of people in cars, not for people who are doing something other than cars, walking, taking a bike, trying to get on a bus. I don't know how. I'm going to be interested in seeing what kind of comments appear on this story and what kind of letters to the editor come out. But I can't imagine that there aren't some people who are going to say, this just doesn't work. The other thing I'd say about Ankeny, it is on some of the best farm ground in the world. I'm seeing great farm ground here in central Nebraska. I'm seeing corn that reminds me of what I see north of Ankeny, northwest, northeast of Ankeny, where the corn suitability rating is in the 90s, and that's darn high, folks, to you urban people. They're getting 250, 300 bushels of corn per acre. It is amazing soil, and yet we're building on it. We're building malls on it. We're building box stores on it. We're building wider and wider roads and more subdivisions. Something is wrong with that formula. When you've got areas in Des Moines or other older cities, other central cities that are aching for redevelopment, do that first. Again, remove the subsidies for sprawl. Focus on redeveloping where you've already got your infrastructure, where you actually need population growth, not just in urban centers, in small towns as well. And here's a prediction, folks. Again, some are predicting 90,000 people in Ankeny. Here's my prediction. Way before you ever see 90,000 people in Ankeny, you're going to see thousands of people in small Iowa towns that currently have less than 100. And I mean that. I'm not just shooting my mouth off here. I know I'm a talk show host and I'm supposed to shoot my mouth off for a living. No, I'm serious. Again, back to climate change. The predictions of sea level rise are not just some scientist's crazy idea. They are based on models that are solid, models that are. But my biggest concern about the models is they don't predict the change soon enough. They don't forecast how quickly these changes are going to occur. So you will see refugees from Florida, from the coastal cities all up the East Coast to Washington, D.C., possibly. Well, what about moving the national capital to Ackley? How about that? That would be kind of fun. But certainly Manhattan Island. You can only build so big of a seawall to protect Manhattan Island, or Florida for that matter. Climate refugees are going to be coming to the heartland. I've been telling folks in Nebraska this, and they think, you got a point there. They're going to be coming to the heartland, and the heartland should be prepared, not with the sprawling model that Ankeny presents, but with that historic, small-town, Main Street-focused model that used to work really, really well until we decided to empty rural Iowa in order to accommodate the interests of agribusiness. you know, you could have vibrant farm communities again, not just because we can have vibrant farming again, farming that caters to local needs, but we can also have vibrant population levels. And I think it's coming, and I guess it's coming for unfortunate reasons. Because as much as I dislike the New York Yankees, I really don't want to see Manhattan underwater. Well, once in a while I do, but not today. And again, I think this is an opportunity for the heartland. But if we don't prepare for it properly, it won't be an opportunity. It'll be a nightmare. And again, Ankeny, not the model to follow. You can't have sprawl everywhere. You got to have concentrated, compact development that both creates a vibrant community where people can live, get along, and have the amenities right there, and also preserves that rural agricultural area, the richest soil in the world around it. You can continue to grow food for this growing population that flees the coastlines. Again, I think I will live long enough to see this prediction come true. That is, unless I get run over by a semi on Highway 30 on the Lincoln Highway. And I'm heading toward Lincoln. They don't call it the Lincoln Highway because I go through Lincoln, Nebraska. They call it the Lincoln Highway because you find a lot of pennies on the highway that have Lincoln's picture on it. That's why they call it the Lincoln Highway. And I made that part up totally. Okay, folks, if you want to call and join the conversation, it's 244-0077, 244-0077. Anybody on the phone, Maddie?
Not at the moment, no.
All right, let's move on. Lance Armstrong. Okay, I know people were really, really angry at Lance. I mean, come on, who wasn't? He was probably angry at himself. Doing the drugs, that's called cheating. Well, first of all, drugs are bad for you. Nancy Reagan taught us that. Drugs are bad. Cheating your way to what, 7 Tour de France victories? I mean, you seem like a god. You recovered from testicular cancer. I mean, what you did with 1, 2, and you went on to win some amazing races. You cheated, and so people are upset about that, rightfully. And it's and they lied about it. The cheat was bad, the lying was bad. But it's there's some people who are saying Lance Armstrong on RAGBRAI, not interested, not even going to go see him, wish he'd stay home. Is Lance Armstrong also wanting to get back into doing cancer research? People are saying, nope, he's screwed up, he's done. Here's my thought. Everybody screws up. Everybody makes a mistake or two. Or, I guess a mistake is when you say, oops, I didn't mean to do that, but it was a dumb idea. No, this is worse than a mistake. Sure, it's lying, it's cheating, and it was protracted. It took a while. He was at this a while. It took us a while to figure it out. But nonetheless, there is such a thing as repentance, and it does seem that Lance has repented. And there is such a thing as redemption. And yes, I'm using religious language. And that's because I happen to think that the great religious texts of the world have something to say about life in general and about these kinds of issues specifically. So, to me, it's time to move beyond Lance, you're a bad boy, go sit in the corner, to say, Lance, you're welcome back on RAGBRAI. We understand you've gone through this process of repentance and redemption, and welcome back. And also, if you want to continue to do cancer research, gosh, you're a good person to do that. You've suffered yourself. You suffered yourself, and you've got to you've got a right to weigh in on something that is that you know a lot about. Okay, so folks, that's my take on the Lance Armstrong thing, and my take on the on Ankeny. All right, folks. If I'm running out of juice on my phone and computer here. How about that? You never knew that was going to happen, did you? So we're going to have to make this a shorter show, and I'll have to come back tomorrow. We'll make it a little bit longer tomorrow to make up for it. I'm delighted to tell you that Reverend Billy is going to join us on Wednesday. Reverend Billy wrote to me and wanted to come to wanted to give the climate marchers a blessing in advance of the in advance of crossing the Keystone Pipeline, and he did that, and it was really well received. We're going to hear his 50-person choir sing a great song for us, and it's going to be on my show on Wednesday to talk a little bit further. Maybe give us another blessing. Anyway, Reverend Billy. Some people think he's off the wall. Some people think he's got something important to say. I happen to be in that latter camp. I guess his full description is Reverend Billy of the Church of Stop Shopping. Anyway, we'll have him on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to that. The final thing I'd say, folks, pipelines. We have, of course, coming up here in Nebraska, rather, we will soon be crossing the proposed pathway of the Keystone Pipeline. But shocking news in Iowa, we suddenly have a pipeline conversation going on in Iowa. And who saw that coming? I did not see that coming at all. I don't know anybody who did. But the politicians, with a couple of sitting quietly on this. I don't know why. I guess I do know why, but I still would like to see more boldness. Maddie, I don't know if you've been following the stories, but yeah.
I haven't been. No.
Yeah, massive pipeline proposed from the northwest corner of the state all the way down to the northeast corner of the state. And politicians pulling over each other to say very little about it. Jack Hatch probably has one of the stronger statements, and Senator Rob Hogue is hands down the most powerful statement about it. There's lots of concerns about eminent domain, and I share that concern as well. My biggest concern, of course, is the scientific fact that we are pumping so much carbon into the atmosphere that we're to the point now that we can no longer continue to do that without seriously compromising the health and well-being of this planet. So we'll be talking more about that, too, as the story continues to unfold. All right, folks, thanks for joining me on the Fallon Forum today. We'll be back with a slightly longer program tomorrow. Again, broadcasting today from the little town of Wood River, Nebraska. Tomorrow we'll be in Grand Island, Nebraska, and happy to say that after tomorrow I'll have a day off. So tune in for that conversation. If you're listening on KHY or KPVL, stay tuned for part 2 of this program. Eddie Kane, my producer, and thanks to Webcast One Live for providing the studio.
Again, we'd like to thank the Fallon Forum business supporters, including anemometry specialists. They're located in Alta, Iowa, offering small-scale solar and wind systems for large and small projects alike. Thanks also to Tally's Restaurant, Bar, and Catering, located in the heart of Beaverdale, serving lunch and supper daily and breakfast on Sunday. They also feature Des Moines' first ever rooftop dining. We'd also like to thank Corazon Coffee Roasters, located in Valley Junction and specializing in fair trade coffee and fair trade tea. And again, we would like to thank our organizational sponsors, the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club, Iowa Physicians for Social Responsibility, and the Great March for Climate Action for helping to make this program possible.